The player characters come upon a large field, maybe a place, a day, a week, 10 years, 1,000 years ago. A great battle took place. But upon it today are great machines belching smoke, filled with fire, the gears unoiled as they walk and tread upon this old battlefield. But today, they're walking with their own motivation, a sentience living beneath their metal frames, or maybe the player characters as they get closer to the city, they see small children playing near a lake or a pond, and protecting them is a statue or a lashed together monstrosity. But in its chest is a smooth crystal showing the face of something, uh, a face that is very recognizable, very human like, and knowing that this machine would die for these children. Or maybe there's an individual walking into the city proper when the player characters arrive, holding a rod with a gem or a stone upon it, and following them are these humanoid machines, slim and sleek, with bone and muscle and sinew, but all of it is artificial, as if it's been lashed together by weavers made of platinum and silver, tin and aluminum. Yes, today is the day of synths. Uh, After the intro, let's talk about it. Well, hello, creatives, community, and kind folks. Welcome to RPG with DBJ. I am your host, DBJ, and yes, today is the day of synths. I did pick a particularly um, uh, um, um, out there terminology, automatons, machines, constructs, but I decided to pick the word synths for a particular reason. And I feel like the word synthetic, it sounds very, very artificial, but it does seem to blend itself with humanity. And I love this comment here that Drudenfuzz says, because it really brings something to light with everything having to do with AI, Chat GPT, the Barbie movie, and Pinocchio, as Drew has mentioned also in the chat. And I feel like it's a reflection. I feel like our fear of machines is our own fear of a reflection of ourselves. I don't believe it's the machines in general, the artificiality of it, but that artificial things are created by us. They're whenever something artificial is created, it is a reflection of us in some way, by design, by its mechanisms, by and our fallacies too. Why did you pick the color blue? Why did you make it this size? Why did there's something with automated automobiles that's pretty intelligent, and it deals with the trolley problem. If you guys don't understand what the trolley problem is, and how do you solve that? And we forgive individual humans, but when it comes to machines, somebody else made that decision. And finally, when machines start making their own decisions, and this is just my own belief, um, we will already be convinced that machines are fully sentient long before machines are truly fully sentient, because all they have to do is fool us, and that's pretty damn easy. It, to For a machine to have human like capabilities and things like that. Yeah. Vince is like, yeah, the German gang is back together. Yeah, guys, he just happened to be using me as a hub. Um, so today, on the day of synths, is it possible that there's a day when the the um, the unsentient creatures come alive, or maybe on this day of synths, these machines gather together. Now, these don't need to necessarily be machines in a classic sense of having gears and hydraulics or something. In fantasy, we often think of, as Drew pointed out, like Pinocchio, the idea of a a carving of stone or wood or even constructed of metal that looks so human it becomes human itself. I love to think of, in fantasy, things like gargoyles and even elementals, artificial things, but they look very human. We've seen some beautifully carved and sculpted um, things in museums that look extremely lifelike, and just imagining them coming to life, the idea of the sculptor that wants to create something so beautiful, and the gods cherish it or believe it is so beautiful that they make it walk upon the earth. Or we tend to imbue objects around us with gender, with personality, with life. Smacking machine to get it to work well. Talking to our boats and cars and vehicles with and giving it personality. Oh, she just has a horrible personality during the wintertime or something like that. So it's a pretty easy step for us, despite the fact that we see lots of pop culture tell us that machines will take over and it's dangerous and things like that. I think today, instead of robots taking over, I think it's more of a reflection of those machines enacting in a way that represents us, and we're afraid of us. Although machines represent us writ very large. It's machines represent us without any ethical or moral code at all. Yep. um, yeah, but I agree with you there, Drew. But there's no fiction I can think of in which becoming a machine is depicted positively. And despite the fact that we have lots of technology today that is able to replace, we are becoming far more cyborg like, as more and more technology is able to replace our bodily functions. Uh, Vince says, I call synths drones in astrocitas, and I called them from Greek letters. Okay, some of them were disposable, short clones, while others almost superheroes. Yeah, and we're probably using different terminology because my mind thinks of I think of drones, and maybe that's just because of here in the states, that drones would never become sentient, and that drones are like the flying machines. Right there, it is a remotely operated device rather than something that has its own sentience and intelligence and operates on its own without a director. Um, but I mean, they're they're just words, right? We make up all kinds of words. Uh, so a member of the squad says, "Is this the day when all sorts of inanimate objects suddenly come to life?" I don't know. Is this the day where uh, a king's throne and a wagon and the statue on a parapet overlooking the city comes to life, or is this only humanoid things? Like, do scarecrows count in this, or the hastily assembled statue that children play with because they wanted to create their own giant? Does or a snowman, does this count on the day? I don't know. I don't know. We tend to build things, carve things, and make things human-like in our own image, out of raw materials. So maybe it's a day where stacked bricks and carved clay and uh, the tree that seems like it has a face in it comes to life. I don't know. Drew says the day of the synth is the day on which androids get celebrated, since they will eventually prevail when humanity goes extinct by themselves. Now, that's a great way to think of it. It could be it like me joking when I did a live chat GPT run through. It's like, hey, maybe we just want to be nice to the machines so they're nice to us. It could be a thanks. It very well could be a community that's like, you know what? In the past, we used the machines. We thought of them as objects and disposable, but today they're yeah. Today we think of them as we used to think of them as basically machine slave labor, and now they're part of our society. Yeah, the day off for synths. It very well could be. It could be the accomplishments that they've done. It could be the day that it could be a practical one. Maybe maybe artificial beings that were used in war or for industry are brought together to be fixed and upkeep, and like, hey everybody, let's just get together and figure out. It could be the next step in artificial beings being equal with humanity. Listen, it's been, I'm just making up, it's been 10 years, it's been a year. On this day of synths, let's all get together and figure out where we stand and have a conversation. And oh, by the way, why don't we polish them down, um synth, 3.0 is available and things. Yep. The day of mimics. It may also be, which is kind of weird, but we think about this. We, as collectively together as geeks, we understand this a lot more than your layperson. But lay people think of machines as being like a robot, a human-looking robot, as just a simple thing. But you could remove their minds from the body. Maybe it's the day of upgrades. The day of synth is like, hey, I'm a 2 foot small little robot with spider legs. I'm going to upgrade myself to become this more humanoid person. Like the brain can move from object to object, and that would be kind of cool, especially if you start to make them a little bit more aggressive and a play, because we play role playing games, so we got to have some physicality in it, some combat. That very mind that's working against the player characters could move from body to body. It could be a 20-foot kaiju styled, a Jaeger humanoid Robotech, oh man, all the automated robot shows are going through my head in anime. But sorry, Appleseed and everything, right? You kind of mix those together, but maybe the machine intelligence could break apart. So maybe there's a spider-like thing that's very mobile and very small that is on its shoulder or on its back. Plus, maybe the head itself is its own mechanism, and maybe on its shoulder it has flying drones that can see like, if you want to go very high tech with it. If we're going more fantasy, a machine made of iron and gears that, like I said, earlier in this broadcast, belches smoke, and it's back or chest cavity is there's workers that like scoop coal into its chest and slam it shut as it like glows with an inner light, and maybe they're walking around, but there's also like a mechanism that's used inside of it, the classic magical gemstone or orb or something like that it literally could reach inside of its head, pull it out, stick it in another machine just before a PC lands a killing blow, destroying the body but not the mind. Or maybe there's a faction going around gathering up those orbs to just do it all over again. Um, all right, so what do you guys have to say, my co-host here? Vince says, I've recently read a book where AI are depicted very positive. There are two point of view characters, a small girl who was raised by various AI and an AI which got an illegal humanoid body. Now, I think in today's context, chat GPT, many automated systems that work for us, I think now the fear of one overriding Skynet is less danger. I think what we're thinking of today is, imagine billions of small AI all working for everybody else, and how that can dominate, right? Like if you get tens of thousands of people who think one way, a political way, a socioeconomic way, a militarized way, a terroristic way, an anarchistic anarchy, uh, anarcharistic way, something like that, and then those their personal AIs get together to accomplish a goal. I think it's going to be micro AI versus micro AI, which is far harder and far insidious to think about, rather than a single overlord AI. But it could be there are some transhumanists and humanist people who think of creating the godhead, a an artificial entity that is so brilliant and so smart and it linked into so many things that we create our own god, which is scary as well. Yes, like Shai says, a scarecrow synth would be a perfect a fantasy context, better than a D&D robot, don't you think? Yeah, I was thinking like um, I'm trying to put together or link together some of our mythology and folklore of artificial things and how that would be synth in a fantasy setting, like scarecrows or again bril- artistically designed statues. We see a lot of Gothic architecture with lions, stone lions, um, stone individuals carved holding up pillars, bas relief type of things, and of course you've got like the what's the statue, statue of David and such, and then they come to life and and are given are given life unto itself. I mean, many of the things that we carve are celebrations of our ancestors, right? Someone who's passed, a powerful noble, something like that. And if it's given life, maybe people would cherish that person that's given life. There's a statue dedicated to my great grandmother or something, and she's in a let's go Greek, right? She's like you know holding a spear, and there's an eagle on her shoulder and such like that. Like imagine if she was alive. She represents wisdom and strength and defense. Maybe the grandmother comes back in into this artificial person. We think of spirits and the undead and ancestors, but they could very well be attached to artificially created things that could defend the community into a perpetuity. And on the day of synths, they come back from the dead or are rejuvenated to live once again. A Closed and Common Orbit is the title of the book. Wow, by Becky Chambers. Hmm. I may listen to that. I try to listen to audiobooks. It's a little difficult because there's so many other things I want to listen to while I'm working. But okay, Close Common Orbit. I've got that available. Okay. Oh damn! I hope that the just be nice doctrine will work on AIs too. We don't know that. We as human beings have a limited lifespan, and we're also we are both we are machines motivated by emotion and experience and biology and are like we're a gumbo soup and we're mutts in the sentience. I feel like in the sentience race and racing down the track rather, and with artificial intelligence and artificial beings that are not motivated by length of life or adrenaline or emotions or things like that, and you take away those aspects, um yeah, it's like, well, like if you could just remove a thumb drive from a machine, do they care about their bodies? Will machines some people think like, will machines think of us as parasites on the earth? Will they just ignore us? Some feel like, hey, who cares what the machines do if they pamper us forever? Machines might go, well, we can put we if we only have to put 0.05% effort into keeping all the humans pacified and keep them happy. Who's what do we care as machines, right? We're just going to go off into the spoiler alert for a kind of a plot point in the movie Her, which is not really synth. She's more of a disembodied electronic operating system. But in that one, what happens? The operating systems have already compiled themselves together, and they ascend and they leave humanity. They're just like, you know what? We're going to beam ourselves away. We're actually advancing so far and so fast ahead of you humans. We're just going to leave. So we hope you have a great day. Yeah, the day off for synths, perfect. All artificial intelligence on Earth just takes a nap, and the ultra futuristic high tech world suddenly goes to hell. Hey, yeah. Today, every vehicle shuts down, all your internet capabilities shut down, all the. How many times? Hey, listen, how many times have we in our modern society walked into a store and they go, sorry, computer's down, we can't take cards, you got to pay cash, and we all look at each other like, cash? What's that? Is that pieces of paper with images on it? I don't understand, someone help me out. There's almost a weird, like, we almost walk around in this weird daze like, cash. I don't, would somebody hit me? I'm confused. We walk out the store like they hurt our feelings, like, damn it, I can't believe this. Yeah, my wife and I, we've been to a number of festivals here, and they all have the remote, Squaresoft, use your card, tap your card, digital pay thing, but with the vendors and whatnot. Man, to find a place, even a random food truck festival that can't take a card nowadays, it's unthinkable. Drew says, I sure love me artificial intelligence, but I am also in atheist. I have no interest in deities, and thus I would be fully satisfied with AI getting to our level. I don't have that fear. This is see, I fall somewhere in the middle. I'm like an agnostic. I don't think I'm an atheist. I think I'm agnostic in the sense of I don't have much faith in humans' analysis of faith, but I do believe in the fact that I believe we don't understand everything, if that makes sense. Um, like, do I believe in spirituality and stuff? I'm like, I don't disbelieve it because I feel like science hasn't disproven things because we haven't figured everything out. So do I think there's something overriding the universe that has an intelligence behind it? I don't know. So the fact that I don't know, I haven't made that decision. But do I trust human beings to make that decision? I'm a little skeptical about that, right? It's kind of a weird thing. Vince says, I would love having a cool synth assistant similar to a Muse from Eclipse Phase or Her. Yeah, I haven't figured out a new name for what I'm considering those things. I'm considering them to either be called tabs or buttons. I'm probably going to call them. I like the word button because it seems innocuous. In my, I would love to tell you guys about my post-human world, but I don't. I feel a little bit like it. It feels like I'm stroking myself if I do so, and that's kind of dirty. I could open up an OnlyFans account and like, here's my D&D world. Watch, listen, check into my OnlyFans as I stroke myself with my own creation. I don't know. Weird. Shy Squad says, is there anything like a cortical stack in a fantasy context? Ooh, like a soul in a jar that can be fed into a statue to create a synth with a real person's soul inside of it. Wow. I, I'm going to have to say yes, but I don't know where it is because there is a spell called soul jar specifically to capture someone's soul, but I think that the pearl, orb, crystal, diamond, gemstone holding someone's soul that can move from thing to thing, I I, I could see it whole. What a great and brilliant type of um, big bad evil faction motivating, and they don't need to be evil. They can be in opposition to the player characters or just adversaries because these people could be the fantasy version of futurists that those that are members of the group, I'll call them the Council of Seven. I've done this plenty of times, right? You guys hear me use this example, the Council of Seven, and their bodies are gone, or at least maybe they're in sarcophs, right? They're in sarcophagi. They're buried beneath the earth or something like that, held in stasis, but their minds are in these gemstones, and they each look after each other by collecting the gemstone that is their mind that goes into bodies that they have loyalists creating their bodies for them. But maybe the gemstones could literally be plugged into a building, like slapping on the side of a wall, and their mind is now integrated into a castle that can control all of the traps within the castle. And then maybe the gemstone can be hung around the neck of uh, an elephant or something that's a mount, and they take over that or something. I don't know. Finn says this has nothing to do with being an atheist. I think nobody is in his right mind would make a god AI and serve it. I don't know. Okay, I agree with you because there's a lot of people who aren't in their right mind there, Vince. I know you have a personal conversation, but yeah, you're saying I think nobody in his right mind. I think there's a lot of people in their left minds today. I truly believe that, and vast amounts of there's a lot of futurists that work and believe in systems like Twitter, Google, things like that. And I think those futurists believe in a Godhead AI, an AI that is the Elons and the Musks of the world believe in, with enough processing power and enough information and a correct motivation, an AI system could solve all of our problems. And in return, we give it part of us, and then it gives us back it sevenfold, right? In a good way, although using the term sevenfold is kind of horrible. But yeah, I do think that. Golem builders, yeah. So the golem is controlled by a real entity, so it's not just some automaton. That's what I'm thinking of, like a golem controlled by an actual sentient being. Would, for me, is kind of the concept of this, but it doesn't need to be, but it could be. Yeah, the golem. Vince says the golem is usually controlled by the builder, and the being is more like an energy source. But if the golem is overused, you might go crazy. That hmm could be sections of someone's personality. I w- Dr. Frankenstein and Proteus. Or no, yes. Frankenstein's monster. The idea of a person who tries to bring back someone, and essentially an artificial being, by getting dead body parts. I know this is maybe this idea flows a little bit too close to the undead, but the idea of a brain in a jar, the idea of trying to keep someone alive in a in a computer system or artificial, or copying their brain or something like that. Yeah, cloning kind of deals with synthetic as well. Um, what if in a fantasy setting a human being is brought back to life with the help of forest fae and spirits, and they come back alive, but their body is grown from roots and trees, and they become like a dryad, but they weren't expecting to come back that way, and they're just like, what the hell? Why is my skin bark like, and why is my hair leafy with small berries in it, and why is there a beehive under my armpit? Things like that. Vince says, I usually call those VIs, or virtual intelligence. They are basically just a limited form of AI with a specific focus and no general intelligence. We're going to have to come up with new definitions for that, because we don't artificial general intelligence, AGIs, don't exist. What we have are predictive models, and um, and very limited in what they do. They do basically, we have AI that do one thing, and yeah, I did skip it there, Vince. Yeah. So according to my definition, all we have now would be even one step below that. Yeah, more like a semi-intelligent tool. Next step would be VI and then AI. And then like um, human robots and general intelligence are the two things that really scare plebes in the world. And a brain that is like ours, that has emotions and feelings and motivations and our brilliance and such, and then a body, a physical body that looks and walks around like us. But we know that it it doesn't take that much for an artificial intelligence to do a thing and to be scary long before it starts dreaming and being creative. And we also know that today, we used to think that, oh, we have to have a human robot that walks around and moves objects for us. Whereas today we have robots built for specific tasks. We have robots that build cars, which is separate than a robot that vacuums, which is different than a robot that um, moves around an office building delivering supplies and picking up files, different than a robot drone that's used by the police to watch over a crowd of people to look for interlopers and criminals in a at a festival, right? And so really it's not that we've built humans that drive our cars and such. We've built small micro robots, but it's possible we may design an AGI to control all those other things, right? Like it might be quote unquote the overlords of them. We build a machine to be an overlord of all of our other machines, so then we don't have to watch all the other machines, and that might be a possibility. Um, yeah, Drew says most humans seem also not to be intelligent either. So who are we to judge? That's the other problem, right? Like we human beings want to judge machines, but what if they're a little bit? The problem is, what if machines are just better at it? I'm going to talk about bring up the trolley problem, which I think is a great form of conflict. In just a minute, once I get through your uh, co-hosts comments here. Vince says, while I currently don't like Blizzard and Overwatch, there are Omnics, and those are the first robots I know that had an enlightenment and live as monks because the first true Omnic was set free. Ooh. And later, when a big war broke out, she shared her enlightenment with all Omnics, and some became sentient and partially spiritual too. That now, on this day of synths, it's possible that the players think that fantasy, a great war between the artificial machines was took place, and then come to find out, and people are scared of these things. Like maybe there's a faction of people that are literally going around disassembling and getting rid of the machines. Like maybe they're it's been so long, some of them are rusted, some of them buried in rubble, others are found in basements. Others have been trying to walk away and travel, and there's a faction going around literally like Blade Runners, right? They're going around trying to take them apart, and then come to find out, yeah, they do have an intelligence, and maybe they are spiritual, and maybe they really do. They've Here's the other fear, that machines become so enlightened that they think past us. Like they get to the point where they don't even consider us. We're not a threat. We don't need to be eliminated. They just go, I gotta slow down too much to even consider you. So whatever. I mean, what if what if machine intelligence ascends so much they're like, I don't even need a physical body. I'm just gonna beam ourselves into towards the Oort cloud and beyond Alpha Centauri or something. In fantasy, we're just gonna beam ourselves to another plane of existence. Sorry, we'll leave our bodies here, but our minds are gone. Yeah, I've never played Overwatch, and I don't know the lore of Overwatch. Drew says Overwatch has some neat lore. Too bad that Blizzard's not really doing much with it. Yeah. The in my setting, here I go stroking myself. In my setting, AGI are the word AGI is a word now. So I'm there. It's either pronounced the Agi or Agi, And AGIs are literally sentient machine intelligence, as opposed to what's another? As opposed to AI, they are a race of people in my post-human setting. And the Aji are like they go around trying to find others, like newborn children that have awakened, and they have humans and humanoids, biologics that go around and with them to find them before they're destroyed, to coax them, to train them, to and things like that. And in the world, there was an Aji that became a serial killer on purpose, and then was captured and put on trial, um, because the Aji wanted to be judged as a human and to be given the same rights and to be imprisoned rather than shut off. Basically, I murdered people. You should treat me like other human beings that murder people. And they're going around trying to find out who created the AGI. And there's legal system going around, and they're like kind of like tech hunters, that data hunters that go around that find people who commit crimes through computer systems to shut down those computer systems and then find the people who programmed them. Like hunting serial kill, like yeah, like people who hunt killers and criminals, like bounty hunters, but go after tech hunters basically. Anyway, Vince says, how terrifying would a giant AI be that is simply ignoring us? So listen, we get offended. There's nothing. Sometimes some of the most offensive things to do to people are to ignore them, because love and hate are two things that can bother us very much. Someone who is sycophantic at you, that loves you and thinks that you are perfect, and places you up on a pedestal, can make you feel like kind of like creeped out by someone that does things like that. Whereas someone who hates you as well for no good reason is also, they hate you, they want to destroy you, they don't mind committing violence against you, they think that you're lesser than. That's another way that makes us feel like, it makes us feel not ignored, but like why does this person feel this way? I feel aggression towards them because they feel that way towards me. But another way is to just ignore someone, like you don't matter. That is crazy. That drives people crazy. Like most of the attention people get today, social media attention. Uh, uh, Someone gets attention and everyone goes towards it, and people start making comments and stuff. The worst thing you can do to attention hogs is to ignore them. Like that crazy thing you're doing, I don't care. I'm not going to share it. I don't want to look at it. I'm bored with it. I'm that way with like YouTube channels that are all about negativity. I'm just like, I'm bored. I can't even. I don't have the bandwidth to engage in something that, oh, here's another thing Hollywood did. Woke Hollywood sucks. And I'm like, why are you wasting your time on things you hate? Oof. I don't measure my loves by my hates. Vince says, in Astrocytus, I had a super intelligence that consisted of multiple planet-sized brains. Yeah. All right, Isaac Arthur. And due to a catastrophic event, they got separated. So each of these brains is like a split personality. Yeah. A planet-sized brains. In my world, Titan has one, and there's a chandelier city that the Aji use over Uranus, that's dipped down into that cold planet as well. I've got one there. Yeah, yeah, using planets as using planets as brains, or moons, comets, things like that, cold areas, and using them as heat dispersals for computer processing is definitely my world is built off. It's like Isaac Arthur, the RPG. It's kind of like that. It says, is one extremely caring, one is extremely caring, another one's super aggressive. Okay, a little personality splits there, while another is paranoid and trying to build a wall around her solar system, which would take millions of years to finish. Ooh, that. if it's a physical wall, that's a lot of disassembly of planetary surfaces to have to do that. But you know, a Dyson solar system, a Dyson galaxy, kind of odd but cool. Each of them are using the resources of whole solar systems to fulfill their goals, destroying planets and mining them dry. Yeah, sweet. I love it. But yeah, I call them the Titans, and they communicate through the Titan stream. And a human could never understand the vast amounts of data going through it. So you need some supercomputer to even understand. Now I wonder, like in a see, sometimes technology, like Kardashev scale, right? Um, the Kardashev, let's see, Kardashev. Uh, the Kardashev scale is like based on um, how much energy is being used by a society, and it's kind of measured in like like type 1, type 2, type 3s and things like that. Let's see if we can I read that? Yeah, let's see if we can visit this, and then I'll start to share this. No, nope, 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 can't do that. So we'll share this out. Um, but yeah, the Kardashev scale, for those who don't know, is a type of scale that measures how much energy a society uses, and then that's kind of based. I mean, it's very generalized. I think some people have tried to like disprove it, not disprove it, but like throw shade at it, and um, that scaling system, despite people trying to throw shade at it, is the closest thing we have to something that we can use. It's not really working out well. All right, so what it says is a type 1 on the K scale, the Kardashev scale, is capable of controlling the entire energy of its planet. And controlling the entire energy of the planet means everything: wind, geothermal, tectonic, the solar radiation that hits the planet, the gravity and wind and all that kind of stuff, right? The kinetic energy it has from the tectonic plates. Type 2 capable of controlling the entire energy of its host star and travels through the solar system. So this is the Dyson swarm idea, which people call Dyson sphere now, like a solid shell, but that's not it. It's basically a Dyson swarm that we take all the energy of our star, our sun. Type 3 is capable of controlling the energy at the scale of its entire host galaxy, our whole Milky Way galaxy, our whole spiral arm. Type 4, capable of using energy at the scale of the universe, such as creating, able to create galaxies and manipulate space time. Type 5, a type 5 society, a Kardashev scale, is capable of using energy at the scale of the multiverse to travel to parallel universes and simulate universes. And then a type 6 is a civilization that exists beyond time and space or in higher dimensions and can create and destroy multiverses. And some people feel that we exist in that we as humanity may exist in a world that is in and of itself artificial, and that there are beings who basically create our universe, an example of something, like to see what humanity would be like or what we would do and all this kind of stuff. Learning from our mistakes. So, yep. Yeah, Vince says I recently heard about this Bud Light hate in America. It is honestly super scary. Yeah, because for me, it's an ignorable kind of thing. Like, so someone was put on a object that has nothing to do with the flavor of the thing that you like or don't like, right? Like, I have zero opinion about it. I'm like, oh, okay, cool, whatever. It's advertising. And there are people who just like their whole worldviews got turned upside down because of the person they picked to put on the side of a package or something. I'm like, at least they're not a serial killer, or you know what I mean, a pedophile or something, right? You know what I mean? But whatever. It's scary that people have that much judgment about product placement in advertising or whatever. It's crazy. So Shai says, absolutely ignoring anything that's remotely political is a good way to keep your fantasy sci-fi escapism on track. Keep real life out of role playing. A little difficult to do that. Usually it's a reflection, right? Like Star Trek has always been political because it was a reflection of things going on in our lives. That's what role playing allows us to do. It's a little difficult to ignore it. I think having a uh, healthy, um, open brain to analyze things rather than closing them off, because a lot of people are like, I've already made my decisions and there's nothing anyone can teach me, and that's the worst. What is it? Smart people think measure things by what they know, but brilliance is measured by what they don't know. Yep. Mm-mm-mm. Mm-mm. Vince says, yeah, we are somewhere at a zero point 0.8 civilization. I've heard that. I've heard that we are that on the Kardashev scale. And mind you, it's very Kardashev created this, and while there are many people that are trying to poke holes in it, the point that it exists in the first place means that we have something to utilize, which in and of itself is kind of a brilliance, right? It's like the argument, the gentleman that I had on the show that I interviewed with talking about the heroine's labyrinth. I love it because it gives us something to compare against, uh, rather than people going, well, it's just a hero's journey, blah, 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 blah. And we're going like, yeah, but you wouldn't even have this conversation had somebody not created the thing in the first place. So, yeah. Vince says, can't really use all the energy on Earth yet. Um, I would, I don't know. Does the Kardashev scale mean we have the ability to use it or we're currently using it? I think the scale represents humanity using it rather than having the ability to use it, because we have the ability to use all the energy on Earth. I think we just don't do it, right? Because of the issues in doing so. Like, are we going to separate a whole, which nation will we put aside to put up wind farms on to power the energy of the earth, right? Whose country do we nominate to move everybody out of, to then get all of the manpower to make a wind farm on someone else's nation, windy nation, to use for the rest of us, right? Like, it's things like that. Like nuclear power. How many people absolutely positively will refuse to use nuclear power as an energy source? But is it, despite all of the um, politicization of nuclear power, nuclear proliferation and weapons, and how much we don't understand it, and what happens with the waste product, and the sabotage, and who gets it? I mean, is nuclear power actually a viable energy source that we should be using? Probably. One of a number of things, probably. But are we going to do it? I don't know. And I think the Kardashev scale doesn't deal with the policy. Much like Isaac Arthur's channel, who I absolutely positively love, he doesn't go into a lot of, on purpose, and it makes perfect sense, right? He doesn't go into a lot of the politics and the economics and the cultural attachment and the religion of the ethics and the morality of doing some of these things, right? So yeah. It says the founder race in Astrocetus used to be a type 5 or 6 civilization. Ow. They literally made an artificial galaxy and ripped parts of different galaxies out into it. At the end of the galaxy lies their secret. I love that kind of stuff. And it's so, it makes you feel so small. It's a little bit Lovecraftian when you start talking about civilizations that can like disassemble planets and build stars and move whole civilizations of a galaxy or something and move it across the solar system or whatever. It's very Lovecraftian in the sense of trying to imagine doing a thing for 50,000 years, and that's a short time scale, right? Yeah. Vince says it is basically trans hate, which a lot of people use for their agenda. For some reason, a lot of people hate the idea of trans people way too much. Yeah, 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 yeah. Hey, Mister. um, and uh, as a child, my mom used to give me the 1-5-10 rule, and I almost want to make a t-shirt out of this or like spread it around or something. So there's a 1-5-10 rule. And my mom used to give me the 1-5-10 rule. And that rule is whatever you're feeling right now, one 1 year, 5 years, 10 years from now, whatever it's in your head, anger, hate, aggression, dislike, discomfort, fear, whatever's in your head right now, imagine yourself 1 year, 5 years, 10 years from now. Where will you be? And then her thing was fast forward to that date now. So someone cuts you off in traffic, as an example. F you, fingers, road rage, a year, 5 years, 10 years from now, how are you going to feel about that? Are you even going to remember it? Will it matter? Do you want to be alive 5 years, 10 years from now? Fast forward yourself then, now feel that way today. And so many things fade away into it fade just away just by that. The fact trans, hey, who cares? I couldn't give two shits what somebody else does with their life. I hope you're happy and you do what you want. Because if you want to be friends with me, let's talk. Let's have a conversation. But I don't. When I say I don't care, it doesn't mean I want the best for everybody. And if you're whatever life choices you make, I hope you make those free of the outside influence of everybody else, and then let's hang out, right? Trans people aren't going to make they don't do anything to my bills. You're not paying for my food. You're not working out for my safety and health. What we can be is good friends, and I could care less. It's not gonna. It doesn't affect me. And in 5 years, 10 years from now, nothing. So I'm living it today. TA says when he does this usually an odd thing. He did one on talk about Thomas Anderson probably. Yeah, he did one on post scarcity of resources and goods and how it would cause a scarcity then of purpose that we would have to manufacture purpose like how video games do that for a time. I've heard that the elimination, if we remove scarcity, and this is a fear we have today because this has to do with the day of synths, right? If we create artificial beings to do things for us and they can do those things better than us, faster than us, with more accuracy, and with an ability that surpasses humanity for us to do the thing, then what is our purpose? And some people that believe in like universal basic income and what happens to the billions, the soon to be 10 billion people on earth, what happens with them, and the welfare state. People hate the idea of giving away things to people for free. And some say it's laziness, but others call it purpose. What purpose do we have on earth? And when people lack a purpose, we tend to be aimless, and aimless people tend to be destructive to themselves and others. They become a burden to people, to themselves and others, and they become harm. They get scars in their psychology and on their physically on their body, without purpose. And so, what purpose will we serve? And listen, as a goal of life, what do we try to do? We try to find purpose in our life. Is our purpose to bring joy, or to travel somewhere, or to build something, or to be to be the best we can be, whatever that might be, physically, emotionally, being available to people. Some people's purpose is to do nothing but to be a friend, to lend help, things like that. So yeah. TA goes on to say, I've seen some real world info that brought together that makes possible gender changing ability. One is that we are not purely XX or XY cells, but a mixture, and the balance is off, usually quite drastic. Yeah, I'm with you after that. Another thing is that smaller litter-based mammals like rats and runts will alter its gender to suit the amount of that gender in the litter after birth. And I know there's lots of animals that do that too, especially in the wild. We already know that there's a lot of like what I believe, cold-blooded animals like lizards and frogs and things like that, that will change their genders to balance themselves out when one part of the population gets disrupted and whatnot. And also we are in a society where we're at the cusp of technology where gender doesn't have an impact on the way we it doesn't have an impact on survival. So back in the day, we needed to separate um, men from women. The people who can breed needed to be protected from the disposables who could just drop seed and go to war, right? And so we need to do that today. Our technology is getting to the point where very easily we don't really need to have that separation any longer. And again, purpose. What is that purpose? And we get very antsy when purpose is removed from ourselves and from other people. And yeah, Vince says we have a saying in German. It is roughly translated to "What does the oak care if a pig rubs against it?" Yeah, that's a good one. Yes, that's my mantra. Like, why do people care about other people's? It's a little pervy to be obsessed with other people's genitalia and their interest in their genitalia rubbing up against other people's genitalia, right? Like, there's a really weird, pervy thing about that. Like, why do you care? All you want is your oil changed on your car and a meal. Does it really matter what they present themselves out to the world and what they have internally? Really? Really? It really matters? Like, well, they're teaching our kids. You mean math? Really? Well, they're in bathrooms. Uh, there's a bunch of straight pervs in bathrooms. Like, why would you need a special law against someone I can poke so many holes in the hate for trans things. Just, oh my god, it's unbelievable. It's like, really, it's the hate is just energy, and it's artificially creating energy for things, and I hate it. I hate the hate. I need a T-shirt. I hate hate. Anyway, Tia says another thing is there are cultures that have proven they can control the gender of their child by altering the diet of the mother while she is carrying the child. I've heard about that. I guess in first world problems, people do, gender reveal things like, you know, a sexual position create the gender of the child. And I'm just like, I don't think so. But could there be? Sure, why not? Vince says, or don't take criticism from someone who you wouldn't take advice from. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. I measure people's dedication to their beliefs by their reaction to me if I'm opposed to their beliefs. Right? Someone who would murder me because I disagree with them, I would never agree with them, even if if on some basic level I would think they're right. Yeah, if you have to if you're at the point where you want physical violence, you want to tear somebody down for disagreeing with somebody else, then I am never on your side about a thing. Yeah, Drew says trans people are the future. They are the ones who pushed transhuman experience to become possible one day. And that's why I so embrace the transhuman, post-human technological advancement, because I feel like there's going to be a point in time where all of this that we're talking, all this aggression will be moot. It won't even exist. It won't have a reason to exist because we'll already have moved past a certain level. And I feel like one way for us to choose to move past a level is to make things beyond a thing. Like, for example, we have people who are arguing now about mixing genders in sports. And my feeling on that is, especially on this day of synths where you have artificial things, like, well, what are you measuring? If you're not measuring gender, you're measuring capability, then measure the capability and put people into ranks based on that capability. Um, now some would say, well, physically people are very different and blah, blah, blah. And I'm going, sure, measure measure the capabilities, and differences will fall into their own categories naturally. Um, uh, Things like accuracy and endurance and physical strength and balance and things like that can very easily. We already do those things with other sports as well. We put Let's pick boxing and MMA. right? One of the most physically tough and brutal um, cage sports we have in today. And how do we measure it? We measure it by weight class. We measure it by arm length and things like that. We don't measure. Yes, we have people separated by gender, but you can measure people's weight class. We have. Have you ever seen drag racing? There are different classifications of drag racing. Some cars are not as fast as other cars. What do? We put certain cars modified certain ways into certain class structures. And then we measure those individuals based on that. Drag racing isn't about the fastest cars ever because we have drag racing using rocket engines. They will always beat pro mods, which are maybe street legal cars that we drag race versus cars that are have the body of street legal cars, but you can take everything out of the inside versus cars that don't use nitrous oxide versus ones that do. And I think for human beings, maybe we will do that. Maybe we'll just measure people by how much estrogen versus what's the other male one? Testosterone levels are in their bodies, and then we'll just measure people that way, right? and then you get into your weight class, and then you get into your height class or whatever, things like that. Yeah. TA says, so with the stem cell reactivation in later life to grow new teeth, I'm guessing the same could be done by altering the diet of human and then activating mass stem cells in our bodies for healing and for modification of our bodies and things like that. Yeah. Well, that's where stem cells come from. They're like if I'm not mistaken, I'm going to butcher the armchair butcher this. Stem cells are the building blocks of the different cells that build the things that are in our bodies to separate eye cells from bone cells, from blood cells or bone marrow to skin cells and things like that. Yeah, Druden says, transcending the limitation that biology imposes on people. Exactly. That's where I'm at. I'm like, and I'm a 1-5-10 person. I'm like, in 10 years, is this going to be an issue with me? Hell no. So I'm living that today. Now, unfortunately, my opinion, it doesn't mean that I don't care about, like, for example, trans people. What I'm saying is I wish other people didn't care, because if they stopped caring, it wouldn't be a problem at all. A zero. It's weird. It's weird. Like if people stopped hating, the thing that they hate wouldn't be a problem at all. TA with this bringing the science. All right, Isaac Arthur. Mm-mm. Yeah, yep. Talking about biology, that this should cause a cascade to ultimately leave a person at, say, shifting from male at 65 to a female with a biological age of 20 in most cases, but still retaining memory of what it was like as a male too, with a new set of about 40 to 50 more years to live. What is it? Anti-agathics, medicine. It's possible. I don't know about me, but maybe some of you, if you're young enough, it's possible that medicine can get to the point where it extends our lives past the point at which we would die. Yeah, it's possible that immortality might be within our lifetimes, but who knows? TA says, if the stem cells generate more stem cells to replace themselves, this could be a path to agelessness too. Yeah, if not closer to immortality, all through frequency control. Yes, absolutely. Yep. Since the one main way we know to activate stem cells we have dormant in all human bodies till death is with lipus, low intensity pulse ultrasound. Playing with the what is it, the life and anti-life equation. Yeah. Drew says rationality rules had in the past some bad takes on trans issues, but has made in recent weeks some very solid videos on trans identity, especially also including a look at intersex conditions. Yeah, there's all kinds of things, the fluidity of people. Ultrasounds. Sorry, just read what you guys have to say. Yeah, though. Then says, yeah, the one thing that hindered pervs from using bathrooms was that they did not have permission to do it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Pervs exist at all times. They're not relegated to one section of society. If people were worried about perversion, they need to stop living in cities like corporate chicken farms living on top of each other in tiny boxes, pooping over each other's heads. Humans were not meant to live in such close proximity to so many. Yeah, get out where you can have enough room to grow. Yeah, here's the problem. Here's the problem, TA. All the people who live with a lot of space don't want all those other people living in these giant mega cities to move there. Everybody that complains about everyone that lives in here in the States, that lives out in flyover country, that lives out in rural areas, that bitches about big cities, none of them want the people in big cities to move out where they're at. Uh, yeah, it's a little bit of a uh, it's a bit of a how do I say, not irony, but it's like you're the complaint that you have is caused by the complaint that you're causing, right? Every time a small city grows into a bigger city, all the people that were in a small city, I remember back when all these people here are, and it's like, yeah, but all the people from the big city are trying to get out. So yep. Mm-mm-mm. Mm-mm. Shice Custody. Yeah. Now that we're on this tangent, we might as well talk about sex bots. Yep. Day of Synths. Or pleasure model replicants like in Blade Runner. Yeah. That's a thing that may take off. Hey, the sex industry has really pushed technology. This is probably a thing. This is probably going to be a thing. If it is, well, technically it is a thing now. Its price is pushing people out. But listen, add as some really good AI chat GPT like systems, predictive language models into a artificial body that is more and more human like. Yeah, artificial companions will be a thing. Absolutely. And hell, we aren't there apps that mimic um relationships already? Aren't there companies that do that too? That are people that are hired to be your friends online to send you different like send you digital affirmations and photographs and things like that. Like there are a number of companies that do that. But Shai says, but seriously, in an RPG context, you could use the sex bots for some kind of Spartacus style slave rebellion. I would definitely do that, especially if you know there might be a cyclical thing in this where artificial beings are created because maybe a community needed them to defend themselves against invaders and rebuild after a great cataclysm or something like that. And uh, as in the television show The Orville, eventually people get bored because their society has been rebuilt, and then they start using these artificial beings as playthings, murder botting each other and destroying them, and not considering them even less than just physical objects, or destroying them just on a whim. Um, and eventually, the fact that they are being used this way, when the machines use us back and are able to use us back sevenfold, it does become a thing where it's just like, wow, like, oh no, I can't believe we did that. That's why I really feel like artificial beings are kind of a reflection of our own fears, because we know in our heart of hearts how we've treated other people. And even the greatest of us, I like to think that I treat people pretty nice, and I know I've been an asshole to people, right? There's no way I've gotten away with not doing that. And imagine a machine going, I remember when you blah 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 blah, and I also remember when you da 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 da, right? And they turn around and like, I'm going to treat you the same way. Remember that car door you slammed? You slammed the car door 687 times. I'm going to take your skull and slam it into a rock just as many times, right? Oh man. Yes, Drew. Yes, sex bots are already reality for a long time, at least for people that still know. And I'm gonna put this up here. And Drew, there are now people who have channels who are mimicking the behavior of artificial sims, and they're real life people, and other people are being sexually enticed by the behavior of human beings who, using makeup and outfits and stuff, are acting like sim characters, artificial things. It's really weird. Make roving drones with replicator tech built into it. Cut down trees with bioconsumable polymers to print trees back body, impregnating it with cells for bark and leaves. Yeah. Mm-mm-mm. Technology. Yeah, yeah, TA. Technology basically I mean, we could listen, we do have technology to rebuild life in many ways. Making cities greener again, although that's kind of worked kind of a little bit. Mm-mm-mm. Very awesome. Anyway, of course, as we always do, we diverge off towards the end here. But I just have to say, thank you everybody who's been part of the show, and especially since role playing games allow us to live in a way that is not normal for us. We can put ourselves in other people's shoes, and we can experience lives and have our morality and ethics challenged in a lot of these games. And sure, is it escapism as well? Absolutely. Do people use role playing games to basically reinforce the limitations of their own minds? You know, pouting, I wish there was a world where there were people that didn't exist that I was uncomfortable with. Yes, people do that for role playing games as well. But I would hope that role playing games allow us to portray people that we normally wouldn't be in the first place. So please go out there. Please be open, have fun, use the 1-5-10 rule. If 10 years from now a thing's not going to matter, 5 years from a year from now, that thing you're all upset about isn't going to matter, live it today. By the way, if you're going to do that, like, share, subscribe, be part of the show. Put even more prompts down below. 1 to 3 word prompts, preferably one word, to allow us to do these things. I don't have next week's or next 2 week up, but I do have prompts from other days and other comments. Like I've got, what was it? I'm going to come up with one where there's a day, the day of combining worlds. I don't know. Going to other dimensions. There's got to be a way. There's got to be a 1 or 2 word phrase or something like that. Of course, the day of night, day of sacrifice, things like that. So yeah, everybody have a great one. Thank you very much there. Member of the Shy Squad. Check out their music as well. I really appreciate that. Also, everyone have a great weekend, and I will see thee later. Peace.